Hello, everybody. Welcome again to one of my webinars. This one is menu-directed inspection. My name is Tom Danvers from Waygate Technologies. I'll be spending the next, probably will be about 45 minutes long, not really 30 minutes as per build, talking about menu-directed inspection. Let's click the next slide. That's not a great slide. Here we go. Right, menu-directed inspection. So really as an overview to let you know what we're going to be spending the next 45 minutes or so talking about, really to kind of wrap around the topic in terms of really inspection time. It clearly is a very precious commodity. Menu-directed inspection is to reduce the time and the complexity whilst maintaining the quality of data that you as an inspector would be generating during an inspection. So it really is designed to simplify, standardize, and make the process much more efficient than it would otherwise be if you weren't using MDI. So this session will take you through what MDI is, more specifically on the boroscope that you see over my shoulder, which is the new flagship model, the Mental Visual IQ Plus, which superseded the MVIQ upon its launch in February earlier this year. So you'll get a much more of an appreciation of MDI on the new boroscope, and also focusing on the new MDI Builder Plus software. So this is the software that creates what we call inspection templates. So we'll be taking you through that as well. So hopefully by the end of this session, we will have also certainly covered all of these objectives that you see on the right of the screen. So what is MDI? I'm sure a lot of you, there's a mixture of you who are listening in now that have never heard of menu-directed inspection before, and there'll be others that are using it daily in your job. But just to sort of really sort of lay the foundation, we'll be going through what the definition of MDI is and why we think it's useful, a tool for you to be able to use whilst you're doing your inspections. Obviously defining what a template is and taking you through the sort of workflows of how to access templates, create templates, change templates, install the templates on the boroscope, and use those templates to create your inspections. So we'll be taking you through, that's all slide work that you'll be hearing about shortly on this presentation. And yes, if you've caught any of my previous webinars, I do like to sort of spend quite a bit of time, hopefully, really talking about the content in a practical live state. So I'll be showing you it on my computer, this software, and also obviously how it looks and how you navigate through the structure on the boroscope that you see over my shoulder here live. Before we go back into the presentation and talk about these other topics associated with handling, moving, storing, and distributing templates. That can be done with and without USB sticks, for instance. And then before summarizing, really sort of making it clear as to what MDI is in terms of its applicability to the different range of boroscopes that we have within Waygate Technologies product portfolio. We have the MVIQ Plus on my shoulder here. And the one that's turned off behind me is the mid-range product, the Everest Mentor Flex. And the one that you don't see here on my desk is the lower range product, is the XL Detect. So there's three ranges. So there's a high, mid, and low range tiered models of boroscope. So there is content or information that we really need to share with you as well, so that you have an overall context of this topic and how it applies to the different boroscope models. So let's start. There we go. So an overview of what menu-directed inspection is. I'll probably start by just sort of bringing your attention to the line on the bottom of the text of the slide here. So a menu-directed inspection tags information with contextual data during the time of capture. So what we mean by contextual information is information that you would otherwise need to capture in addition to capturing the image or the video whilst you're compiling your report. So to go through it methodically, what you see on the right-hand side, so I've compartmentalized it into these three headings: simplify, standardize, and efficiency. So there really is no need to have any note-taking, no manual note-taking. MDI is really centered around the ability to include information digitally on the boroscope during the process of capturing images and videos that you would choose to either save and include in your reports or just save for posterity reasons. So the requirement to make notes, whether they're manual notes in a piece of paper or notes, for instance, on a laptop or a sort of, a tablet or something, really should not be needed anymore if you're using MDI to its fullest extent. That kind of also extends to the requirement to create manual annotations. You'll be perhaps familiar on the boroscopes. Well, all of our boroscopes, you can press a button for annotation and then add text to the screen, and that information gets contained on the image when you save it, or perhaps if you are videoing it. So if you're using MDI, manual annotations shouldn't actually really be needed, and we'll go into why that is even more applicable now with the new updates that we have with MDI Plus, MDI Builder Plus. And a big part of simplification is really the consistency that you have with annotations when you're sort of detailing or describing the part that you're inspecting within the engine, but also when you're assigning defect classifications or assigning file names, and indeed whilst you're compiling reports. These are all sort of opportunities where variation can come in. But if you're using MDI, then it's all kind of locked into a standardized template. So it's a lot of that enables you to really sort of fly through the process, and how you perhaps and your colleagues would do it would be essentially the same. So there's a huge amount of sort of simplification and standardization that you have there. So moving on to the standardization, where you heard me talk earlier about templates. So templates are these files. They have an extension of MDZ files or MDZ files. Quite an unusual string of letters, but those are proprietary sort of files that we, Waygate Technologies, have created that contain the structure of the asset that you're inspecting. And you'll hear a lot more about this shortly. These templates are created, well, we've created lots on your behalf as demonstration templates. And by using this software that you'll learn more about, MDI Builder Plus, you have the ability to edit those templates or create new templates from nothing, and make those templates highly relevant to the engines or assets that you are inspecting. This is not unique to aviation or to any industry type. This is designed so that you can create templates for all sorts of assets, or any assets really that you choose to do regularly as a part of your job of doing visual inspections. So it's important to note that these are templates. Templates are not reports. Reports are the output that you would produce at the end of your inspection, whether it's a Word document or a PDF, for instance. But a template's not to be confused with that. It is really just a template. And once you've created a template, or perhaps you've asked Waygate Technologies to create a template for you to help you, for instance, that gets locked in. Provided you're completely happy with that template, you never need to change it ever again. And once it's installed and operational on your boroscope, that's it, it's locked in. And if you were to then perhaps want to do an inspection for a different engine type, then you wouldn't use that template for that engine type, you would move to a different template. So once, the idea is that you have these templates that change obviously in accordance with the asset that you're inspecting. With my background in the aviation industry, I'm going to be talking really mainly about aviation, but this applies whether you're in automotive, renewable, sort of oil and gas, pharmaceutical, all those kind of other industries where you're doing repeatable inspections using Waygate boroscopes. If you're doing those, then hopefully by the end of this session, you'll learn more about MDI. And if you're not currently using MDI, you'll want to hopefully try using MDI. The other part of standardization that you see on this chart is access to reference materials. So a little bit like for the point that I made earlier about not needing to access or make notes, we have the ability to include what we call reference materials into these templates. Again, we'll talk more about that later. But what that means is that you'll have access to documentation or images or procedural information, for instance, that you would want to reference whilst you're doing your inspection on, let's say, a gas turbine engine. And so examples of reference materials would be acceptance limits, zoning of turbine blades or compressor blades, for instance. Once you found a defect, you want to check what zone it is, and you might not understand or remember what those delineations are between the different zones, and you can press a button on the boroscope, press reference materials, and you're presented with the appropriate image for that stage that you're inspecting. If you're inspecting a compressor blades, you don't want to be presented with reference materials from combustion or turbine stages, for instance. And the boroscope recognizes that. So when you're in the compressor stage and you want to check your zones information for HP compressor blades, for instance, if it's obviously included in your template, then the boroscope will say, okay, here's your image of zones, for instance, for the HP compressor. And it won't show you reference materials for the other stages until you tell the boroscope that you're in those other stages. For instance, as you move from the compressor stage to the combustion and turbine stages, then you'll be able to visualize and access those other reference materials that are relevant to those stages. MDI also, I've lived through many of inspection whilst I've not been using MDI in my previous role outside of Waygate Technologies, but the hassle associated with sorting through images when they are not file named takes many hours. You're having to open them up, check them, and then you realize, actually, no, I don't want to access that image, and I'm trying to find other images. MDI saves images with very smart file names. So it will, for instance, say HP compressor, leading edge, and 001, for instance, and that'll go 002 if multiple images for the leading edge of that HP compressor stage has been captured. And all that's done automatically for you. And essentially the end point of the MDI journey, if you choose to do so, is to ultimately, whilst you're capturing all of those images and collecting all of that contextual information as you're going through that inspection process, we have this onboard report generating process where you can, by pressing some more buttons and selecting what kind of format or number of thumbnail images you want on the template for the report, perhaps either including all of the images or just the images that you may have flagged, for instance. So there's various options that you have access to on the boroscope. By clicking the generate button within seconds, depends on obviously how many images are contained within the report, you can walk away from your inspection with a Word document and a PDF in your pocket, essentially, which is fantastic. That saves a lot of time, many hours, if you're using that feature to be able to generate the report. And the last point that I've got here is ingestion into inspection works. So if you haven't caught my previous webinars, the one I did most recently, it was about 3 weeks ago with my colleague, JF Bureau, we talked about inspection works. And inspection works is our cloud-based ecosystem where it ingests data from not just boroscopes, but all sorts of other equipment as well. But from a boroscope point of view, if it's ingesting information that comes from MDI, then all of the contextual information contained within these images and videos is recognized by inspection works, such that you're presented with that asset structure that came from the inspection or MDI template. So you've got all those images sorted into the various stages of the engine that you've inspected. And it's worth noting that the template might contain all of the stages in an engine, but you're not forced to, or even told to, inspect every single stage of the engine. You might have a full engine template, but you might want to strategically go in and perform an HP turbine blade inspection because that's the requirement that you have, for instance. You can just drop into that particular leaf node or stage, HP turbine blade, and capture data within that part of the structure. You don't have to populate data in the other parts of the structure. Or alternatively, if you're an inspector performing inspections in MRO plants, MRO facilities, and you're doing receipt and dispatch inspections, it's likely that you're going to be doing much more expansive sort of inspections where you might be dropping into every stage or many stages. So it's a completely flexible facility that really allows you to put data into those parts of the template, and really sort of benefit from all of those advantages that we've gone through here. I'm going to click to the next one. So just to put MDI into context, so how it works, I'm going to be talking to you shortly about creating an inspection template. Now, importantly, this is something that's done in the pre-inspection stage. So you're not on the engine, you're not in your MRO facility or on wing or wherever you are doing your inspection. This is done back in the office on your computer, and it's being used. You create an inspection template or edit. You might not be creating them, you might be just changing them or adjusting them or adding information to them. That's done using this piece of software that I'll be taking you through, which is called MDI Builder. And the new one that's new, that's coming out, actually I was hoping it would come out today, but it looks like it's going to be coming out tomorrow. It's called MDI Builder Plus. And that's this new piece of software that enables you to design and create the template that you and your business need for you to do those repeatable inspections on your engines. That's done in the pre-inspection stage. That's once you've got the template, you install it and you run it on your boroscope, and it's there forever on your boroscope until you delete it from your boroscope. It's always there. And how you move it across from your MDI builder to your boroscope, you can use Inspection Works Store. You don't have to use thumb drives. You can obviously use a thumb drive if you saved it through a thumb drive and transferred it to your boroscope and installed it from your thumb drive. But the beauty of Inspection Works, we've got this part of Inspection Works that's called the store. And so once you've created a template, you can upload it from your computer into Inspection Works Store. And then from your boroscope, you can access Inspection Works Store and download it and basically install it onto the boroscope. And everything that I've just said up to now applies to the Mental Flex as well as the MVIQ and MVIQ Plus. So once you've got it running on your boroscope or installed onto your boroscope, when you're ready to do your inspection, it's very easy to open the MDI menu, tap on the tile for that particular template, and start filling in the information associated with what that engine type is, what the inspector is, who the customer is, and all the information that your template is designed to capture, all that kind of information. That takes kind of like, let's say 30 seconds or a minute or so, depending on what your requirements are with that template, and off you go with your inspection. And after your inspection, as you can see on the right of this chart, post-inspection, we've really kind of taken you through that workflow with Inspection Works using the separate webinar that I mentioned 3 weeks ago. That's all about really handling and analyzing the data, using that data, measuring the data, sharing that data and reporting the data. That can all be handled within Inspection Works. For this webinar, I'll be taking you through the process when you're not using Inspection Works. So as you're still on the boroscope, again, before you've walked away, or perhaps you have walked away, but you're in your office or the hotel room or something like that, but still using the boroscope, by pressing a few more buttons and interacting with the settings menu, you can quickly, rapidly generate a PDF and a Word document for your report. So that's kind of putting it in context of MDI. So obviously MDI touches all of those stages, pre, during, and post inspection. So some few words now on MDI Builder Plus. So this is the pre-inspection stage. So we do have this new piece of software called MDI Builder Plus. And when you're on the boroscope, these are what the templates look like. You remember me saying these are MDZ files. So we've got here 4 templates shown on what we call obviously the main menu of the MDI Plus. This should play, hopefully. Okay, oh, it's just playing. Here we go. This is, I will be taking you through this live, but I wanted to capture this in a short video clip. So this is a snapshot taken from MDI Builder Plus software. And I've opened up a template that I created. It happens to be for a Trent 500. So I'm going to just pause it. Well, let's see if I can actually, I'll pause it here. So this is the inspection details part of designing my template. So you can see down the left-hand side, it says engine serial number, engine type, customer, and all the rest of it. That is information that you see on the boroscope on the right-hand side of this chart. So that's what it will look like. So this is the information you will fill in at the beginning of your inspection. So what is your engine serial number, engine type, customer, site, inspector name? And there can be many, many fields. Actually, I can't quite remember how many fields. There could be 15 or so fields that you can fill in. So if there are more, then you would scroll on the boroscope and scroll down the page. And you've got the ability to make them mandatory cells. And what's new is you've got the ability to make those kind of persistent live on the screen. So that's this third column that you see on the right-hand side that says annotate. So I've clicked annotate against 5 cells, 5 fields, starting with engine serial number. And if I bring your attention to the right of this chart, you can see 5 fields with this. Okay, you can't quite read the text because it's so small, but it says live. So as you're entering that text and then you start the inspection, you will have this text appear on your screen. So that's how you sort of set up what we call the inspection details part of your template. And as you move through different, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Forgive me. Let me start the video again. So now if I bring your attention to the left-hand side, this is what we call the inspection tree. So this is clearly not a blank template. This is a fully populated template. So I created this for the Trent 500, and this is what we call the inspection tree down the left-hand side. So those of you that are familiar with aviation-based gas turbines, you have fans, IP compressors, HP compressors, combustion stages, HP turbine, IP, LP. And then obviously in those different modules, you have multiple stages, and under those stages, you have multiple leaf or particular nodes. We call them leaf nodes when you get to the very end. So that's when you're, let's say, at the leading edge of an HP compressor blade, stage 5. So at the very top, you see what we call a root node, and then you have stage nodes, and then you have leaf nodes. The leaf node is the point upon which you're going to capture a video or a blade whilst you're on the boroscope. So this is creating that structure, and it's very easy to do. You don't have to do it from blank. There's lots of example templates that we have, as Waygate, have created on your behalf, and they're a great source of information that you can use and then edit and tweak and add that extra 5 or 10% that you need for your business to make them perfect. Let me just roll the video on a little bit more. So we've talked about the inspection detail stage. That's where you can kind of create this main menu upon starting an inspection. As you move through here, we've got what your annotation and what your file name is going to look like. Here in the defect classification section, when you capture an image, you've got the option to assign additional information associated with that defect type. And in accordance with your aircraft maintenance manual, for instance, just sticking with the aviation theme, you'll have very specific defect classifications for that stage that you're inspecting. In this case, for the combustion stage. So you'll have defects associated with the combustion stage, and if you're in a leaf node associated with HP compressor, you would have different set of classifications for that stage. Here's reference material. So like you heard me talk, you can assign reference material. So these are preloaded images imported into MDI Builder Plus. And so when you're on the boroscope, you can load up that information very easily on the screen. I don't show it on this screen, but if you scroll down to the bottom of this page, it says analytics. So there's a stage where you can basically automatically instruct the boroscope to turn on assisted defect recognition analytics, or for instance, the blade counter analytic, and it will automatically load when you're in that stage. You'll appreciate perhaps when you're in the, well, obviously when you're in the combustion stage, there's no blades to inspect, so you would not have blade counter turned on at that stage, so it would automatically turn on and off depending on which stage you're inspecting. So this is like kind of basically the headlines of MDI Builder Plus. So we've significantly updated the user interface. It looks and feels as it should do from a corporate perspective, from a Waygate Technologies corporate perspective. We have pre-populated templates. I will be taking you through this shortly in the demo. You've heard me talk about these live persistent text lines that you see, and also analytic support for ADR and blade counter. Architecturally, we've increased the number of leaf nodes. The maximum limit has increased from 2,500 up to now 3,000. And yes, we've increased our sort of coverage for language support and brought it up to the standard that we have for the boroscope. So we now cover the same 18 languages on MDI Builder Plus. Just to reiterate that point associated with live persistent text. So now, whilst you're doing your inspection, here's an example where historically we've always had the top line in appearance permanently on the screen, where now with this new MDI Builder Plus, you have the ability to add up to 5 lines, 5 maximum lines. You don't have the facility to add any more than that. And so here's a template where I've clicked the button against persistent text for 5 lines. So that's what it looks like on the boroscope. And this is an image that's been, should we say, saved from obviously an igniter plug in the combustion chamber. And so you heard me talk earlier about no need for manual annotation. There's no need to assign engine serial number and all this other information manually, because that's all now permanently on the screen, because that's driven by your MDI template. Quickly, everything that I've said applies essentially, most of the things that applies to MVIQ and Mentor Flex, but does not necessarily apply to the XL Detect. So I won't go into more than that at this moment, but we've captured a lot of that detail in the 3 columns of this table that you see here. So we've created and updated this comparison chart to reflect the updates that we've made in MDI. Right, I've spent 30 minutes. Let's stop talking about slides and start talking about the live, what it looks like on the, let's go to my boroscope. Actually, I'm going to go back to my screen and show you what I meant to do was show you my MDI template, MDI Builder. So this, unfortunately, it's not live today. I think it's going to be coming out tomorrow. So please check out our Inspection Works store, our public store tomorrow. It should definitely be there for tomorrow. So this is what, once you've downloaded MDI Builder Plus, and just for clarity, if you go into settings, this is version 4.0. But it's basically at a high level, holistically called MDI Builder Plus, and it does contain this sort of very simple menu at the front where you can create, basically you're having to type in a name for a template, and you have the option to create sort of a template from blank or based on one of these pre-populated templates. So if you're in the aviation, internal combustion. So let's say you're inspecting diesel engines or internal combustion engines. I've just typed in test, I've pressed internal combustion, press confirm, and I now enter into this stage, into this window. So you heard me say earlier, this is like the inspection tree on the left-hand side, and the various stages on the right-hand side that you just kind of heard me talk about. So that's what it looks like from an internal combustion point of view. Let's just, for completeness, type in rocket and press confirm. So I've never inspected a rocket before. But this is a template associated with the inspection of a rocket. I can't give you guarantee that it's completely accurate, but it's an example of a template that does apply to a real component, real assembly such as a rocket. And when you expand all of these cells, you move from not just the root and into the stage, you can get down to ultimately, like this is the leaf node here, so flow path, for instance. And once you're there, yeah, you can, this is where you assign defect classifications associated with that leaf node, for instance. What I was going to do is open up, I show you, actually, let me go to Inspection Works. So I've just clicked open my browser that's also open on my screen. This is Inspection Works. So if I go to the dashboard, perhaps you'll recognize it from here. So I'm on inspectionworks.com. I've actually signed in, I've logged in. If I hadn't logged in, then I would just be presented this option to access the public store. But I have logged in. You can see on the right hand side, I've logged into my account that I actually created 3 weeks ago for the webinar on Inspection Works. So I've logged into the same webinar account that was created. You can see it there. You can see my initials here. So I've signed in and I've gone to the left hand side and pressed store. And so now I have access to this thing called the public store, but also because I've logged into an account, and it happens to be the webinar account, I have this also this additional tab for the private store. So I've got a public store and a private store. Going back to the public store, if I press applications, I've already done this. So it's dropped down to RVI and MVIQ. These are all of the templates. These are demonstration templates for lots of different engine types. And just for completeness, I will click on Leap 1B, press download. Let's download that. It's downloaded it. Go into MDI Builder, open, let's not save that. Open, where, oh, it's in downloads. There it is, it should be in here. There's my Leap 1B that I've just downloaded. And here is my Leap 1B demo template. So the root node being at the very top. So if I compress it down, there's nothing there to show. You expand it, and then you've got this inspection tree shown to you. And then if I go from the booster section to stage 2 down to leading edge and click on leading edge, I get to what we call, you've heard me say, leaf node. And here you can see, for instance, this has all been done for you. This is sort of, part of the template. So you can see the classification is LPC, or the booster section. So if I press the manage button, you've got all of these defect classifications for the different stages or modules of the Leap 1B engine. And you have the facility to obviously make sure that these are relevant to you and the inspection procedure that you're following. If you want to delete them or add new ones, you can do so here. That's how you kind of manage those defect classifications. And then when you're in these leaf nodes, you then select what classification you want to say. So I'm obviously in a leaf node in the LP compressor. So you can see with this gray box, it's already got LP compressor classification set to it. So if I wanted to change it, obviously I shouldn't, but if I changed it to HP compressor and press apply, you can see the gray box has moved to LP to HP compressor. Clearly I shouldn't have done it because I've got a leaf node associated with the LP compressor assigned. So let's drop it back in just so that it doesn't mess with my head. So those are defect classifications. So when you're on the boroscope, you're presented with the classifications that are relevant to that stage that you're inspecting. Let's see if there is any. I go up to the root node, and there's no reference material loaded into this template. Well, there are in other templates. But what I wanted to show you now is, because before I move to the boroscope, I'm going to open up, let's note to that, I'm going to open up the template associated with what I'll be showing you on the boroscope. So my Trent 500 template. And you can see there's all these text associated with live here. As I was showing you in the video earlier, I kind of turned on live for up to 5 cells. And because 5 have been selected, I can't have the ability to turn on anymore because it's kind of grayed out. If it wasn't, I could make that and then create a new one for this stage here. Let's just turn that off, turn that back on, press apply. So again, I actually had the opportunity to inspect a Trent 500 engine recently, a few weeks ago, and I had access to this new MDI Builder Plus software, and I had access to the aircraft maintenance manual. So I took the opportunity to extract all sorts of reference material from the aircraft maintenance manual and made sure my defect classifications were very relevant, and created this template for myself, and generate lots of data whilst doing the inspection. So again, once this is done, and you yourself are happy with this as an inspector or as a business, for instance, then you can move it to Inspection Work Store and download it from there, or you can move it across to your boroscope using a thumb drive, for instance, a USB thumb drive. So that's what I was going to do now, was to move across to the boroscope. So if I stop sharing my PC screen and start sharing my boroscope screen, excuse me a second. So the boroscope screen is here. So if I wobble the scope, you'll see it's kind of, there we go. It's just pointing on a nick on a compressor blade. And if I go into my MDI main menu page, I've actually deleted lots of sort of demonstration templates. You see my template right here, and you can see that field of text that's already been created from MDI Builder Plus. What I'm going to do is actually go back into my main menu and press resume. So we've got the ability on the boroscope to resume an inspection that you've already started previously. So actually, I'm resuming the inspection that I did on the 1st of May. You can see the date at the bottom of this screen, 1st of May. And I populated the engine serial number and all this data. So I'm kind of resuming that. So it's kind of lifted what we call the inspection file from the MDI. And I just pressed done. And I'm now into basically, obviously you can see in the background, that's my live screen. So this is my inspection tree. So all of the different stages. I didn't start with the fan or the booster section. I actually started with taking a picture of the engine data plates. I've also included steps associated with capturing the measurement verification of my tips to prove to my customer that reads my boroscope report that my boroscope is functioning correctly and it's measuring correctly. So I've contained images in that. So on the right hand side, you can see there's an icon associated with pictures, and then there's a number. So there's one image that I saved in measurement verification. I actually took 3 images of the data plate, and then you can see as you scroll down the various different images, but also on the left hand side the icon for videos. So I've captured various videos and images for each, well, most stages. I don't think I did much, or I did do some in the RP turbine. And the third icon that you can see on here is for reference material. When it's kind of essentially illuminated and not grayed out, that tells me in my MDZ file, my MDI template, that there is reference material associated with that stage. So if I was to drop into HP turbine, rotor blade, general, and then dropped down to my second page and looked up reference materials. This is, I've kind of blurred it out because of export control, but this is a real image of an HP turbine blade lifted from the aircraft maintenance manual, showing you the dimensions of the turbine blade. And I could have that on screen. So if I went to split screen, and then sort of activated my right-hand side image, pressed reference material, then I can have that present on my screen as I'm doing my inspection, or as I'm saving an image that has a defect. And by looking and saving, obviously, that image shown on the reference material on the right-hand side, you can kind of show the show the reader or the customer of your inspection report where that defect is, or justifying where that defect is, because you've got the live measurement that's captured on the left-hand side. And what you can see, obviously, just kind of hammering home the point, you can see all of that live text that's on the screen. So if I press the top of that screen, I activate my inspection tree. If I press HP turbine or press Trent 500, which is my root node, I can scroll down to IP turbine. Let's say I made a mistake, I'm not in the IP turbine. I go down to the LP turbine, stage 2, braidable liner, general. So you can see all of that text on the top of the image, in this case LP stage 2 braidable liner general, that's automatically appeared. And so when that image is saved, let's save that image, it's about to save the image with that smart file name. But before I do that, because there's a setting that's deactivated on my boroscope, in other words, if MDI quick save was activate, you wouldn't get this menu. But because it's deactivated, you do get this menu. You've got the opportunity to save it with a flag. You can add some manual comments. And you heard me talk about defect classifications. These are the defect classifications associated with the LP turbine. Just say, this is obviously clearly not the real blade, but let's just say missing material. If I wanted to, I press audio, and then it can record a short clip of my voice. I've got obviously a microphone attached to the MVIQ Plus now, or you can Bluetooth your own headsets, for instance, to it, and you can record some audio in there. And then once you save that image, it saves straight away, and you keep doing your inspection. So all of that note taking, all of that time taking, sort of capturing information, it's all done here on the boroscope. So if I went into File Manager and just showed you, so that's that image that's kind of in focus at the moment. That's obviously the one that I've just saved. And I just bring your attention to how it saves the images in terms of the file names, whether it's a video, an MP4 file, or in this case, it's set to JPEG for still images. It could be bitmaps. The default is JPEG. So you've got various JPEGs and MPEGs, MP4 files that I've been generating during my inspection. If I scroll down to the bottom, I just saw a glimpse of the MDZ file, which is my inspection template. So as you're generating data, for completeness, you've still got obviously that template there if you wanted to share that and include it with perhaps all the data that you're generating for your inspection. And then if I go back to the live state and press Trent 500, the button on the bottom left, I've got this button on the right-hand side, which says Generate Report. Then we've got this report wizard. So this is the part where you heard me talk about in terms of being able to walk away from the boroscope, walk away from the engine inspection process with a copy, with a report in your pocket. So we've got basically some settings. You've got the option to generate a report based on those settings. You can preview a report, which is basically the first 3 pages of the report. It doesn't include everything on your preview. If I just press preview now, let's just see what it's going to generate. Won't take long. It's only going to be 3 pages or so. So that's my title page. That's my summary page. And it's going to be my first page with the data plates that I captured. So that's my 3rd page. So if I come away and press back, go into settings. So now I'm in MDI settings and I can change different things. If I wanted to change the number of images that I want, so not 3 images, but 6 images, file names only. That's actually, I do want the text. So let's keep it on 3 and right. Let's just move it with text left. Do I want to include all the images? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Go to MDI. There we go. All images, or perhaps as you were doing your inspections, you were saving images with flags, perhaps because you knew you want to save an image, but you don't want to include it in the report. So you only include those perhaps that you choose to flag rather than everything. So that's if you wanted to use the flagging feature. I only flagged, actually I only flagged, I did flag some images where I found cracks on the Trent 500, but I'll just select all here for now. So those are my settings. And importantly, I can change, because what you saw on my preview was a Waygate Technologies default. So I can change it to a custom top page and end page. But I'm going to press generate. Okay. It's going to take longer perhaps than it would otherwise because there's lots of images there. Oh, it's gone flashed up quickly. Go into File Manager. I'm now going to have a Word document and a PDF. It turns out to be 8 megabytes long if you just, or big if you saw that. So these are all my images. This is my report. I'll just pinch out, it will just zoom out a touch. And that's how quick it is. So that's my report process. So I'm going to just go back to my PowerPoint slide. Just press the right button. So moving back to my slides, you just see me take you through the process on MDI Builder onto the boroscope and generate a report. Quick word about the public store again and the private store. So you have this facility. It's available to you. You don't need to log in or be a subscriber to InspectionWorks. You can just type in inspectionworks.com and basically go into the menu and select store. And you will essentially see everything that you see on this screen. There will be some things that will obviously be new. We do keep it up to date. I'm one of the administrators for it. And if there's anything on there that perhaps you want to change or anything, then by all means, reach out and we'll look into that for you. But also on this video clip, you've seen me move to the private store because I'm logged into a particular account. I've deposited private information in there, for instance. If you are a subscriber to InspectionWorks, then you will have access to a private account. And this happens to be an account that I created. It was a free account. So you do have access to the private stores as a free account holder. And you're able to upload information. Okay, there's limits to how much information you can upload and how many users can access that store and that account. But it is all available to you on for free. So that's what it looks like on the boroscope. On the browser, this is what it looks like on the boroscope. So I'm logged into InspectionWorks. You can kind of see my name there. So I've typed in or tapped the tile for public store. And everything that you saw on the computer, you get to see immediately on your boroscope. Obviously, the precursor is this boroscope is attached to the network. So it's connected to a Wi-Fi signal. And then you can access not just MDI templates, which are applications, but also documents and media, which is either images, PowerPoint slides, or JPEGs, for instance. So this is me. Yeah, I'm going to be downloading this Leap 1B template. So I've downloaded it. It takes really quickly because there are only a few 100 kilobytes in size. Go to my MDI menu and it's automatically installed onto the system. And then you're able to start your inspection if you wanted to use that demonstration template. Alternatively, it's very simple. That's where you go into, in this case, going into the private store. The process and the look and the feel is exactly the same. The only obviously difference is you then get access to data that you specifically or your business specifically deposited into that private store. Some words now on equipment and model applicability. So I'm going to take you through the different boroscopes. So this is the flagship boroscope, the MVIQ Plus that you see here on my shoulder. So everything you've heard me talk about today applies to all of the models of the boroscope. It's included in all of them. So you can see highlighted here, it's a feature on the, should we say, the lowest model, the start model. And everything in Enhance and Pro is basically in addition to everything in the lower model. So MDI is included on the MVIQ Plus, and the same can be said for the MVIQ. So this is the, should we say, the outgoing model that's being superseded by the MVIQ Plus. The caveat is we're updating the software to the MVIQ to 3.75. That's coming out, I think it's going to be coming out in about a week's time from now. So towards the end of May 2024, in case you're watching this back sometime in the future. If your MVIQ is running at version 3.75, everything that I've just said applies to all of those models in that range as well. The Mentor Flex, the mid-range product. So that's currently, at the time of talking to you today, that's running version 1.70. 1.70 is not compatible with live screen annotation and does not support analytics. You heard me talk about assisted defect recognition and blade counting, but everything else that you've heard me talk about does apply to Mentor Flex. Once later this year, or perhaps maybe early into 2025, we upgrade the software to version 1.8, then live screen annotation will apply to Mentor Flex. The lower tier model, which is the XL Detect or Detect Plus. So pretty much it has MDI, but all of the features that you heard me talk about with MDI Builder Plus in terms of the live text, the increased leaf node count, all of the other things that you heard me talk about does not apply to this model. What does apply is the existing or outgoing, should we say, MDI Builder version 3.5. Version 3.5 will still exist and still continue to support you during your work with the XL Detect or Detect Plus. So we're not deleting that. You'll still continue to use MDI on those boroscopes, but you just won't have access, unfortunately, to those features that you heard me talk about here. So I'm just summarizing now. So forgive me, I've taken up 50 minutes or so. If we have got any questions, I would like to sort of spend a bit of time with those questions if you have got any. But quickly from me, we've taken you through MDI. Hopefully you've kind of understood really the productivity that it really does provide you with. It's a fantastic feature to use. If you're not using it, give it a try. It's likely that it's there already on your boroscope. If you need help with understanding these templates and creating these templates, we're more than happy to help you with that. Really passionate about hopefully using MDI on your boroscopes because it really will help you achieve those benefits that you heard me talk about earlier. So we've obviously talked about MDI Builder Plus at some length during this session. That is brand new, so brand new it's not actually open today, but it should be open tomorrow, which will be the 17th of May. Should be. And you've heard me talk about Inspection Works, that we have this feature called Store. There's a public store and a private store. One doesn't require login and one does require login. But everything in there and the contents, whether it's MDI Builder, documentation, or media, for instance, exists in the store. And you can leverage that store to upload content such as MDI templates into the store, and those templates can be distributed around your instruments. And those instruments could be dotted around the world. And by connecting your boroscope to the network, you will have access to those MDI templates. So the requirement to sort of transfer that data using USB thumb drives is not there. You don't need to use USB thumb drives. And just to briefly touch on the fact that compatibility for MDI is common on all models of MVIQ and Mentor Flex. But you heard me just talk about the odd caveat with live text on the Mentor Flex. So that's me kind of wrapping up now. These are my previous webinars that you've heard me talk about, and my colleague Dean talked about on May the 9th. So just as a reminder, there's lots of content talking about all of those subjects. They're grayed out because those are in the past. My next one is actually June the 14th, so it's essentially this time next month. I'll be talking to you about a little bit different theme about essentially the design principles that we hold dear to our heart when we're creating hardware as well as software to basically make your life easier and to make sure that we're we're producing products, whether it's digital products or hardware products that meet your requirements. So giving you a little bit of under the hood kind of information as to the thought process behind what it is that we do. So I've taken 55 minutes. Sorry if it's taken too long. I've taken up too much of your time. If there are any questions, now's a good time to ask them. Hello, Pavel. Right, let me read this. Will live fields be recorded? Yes, they will. If yes, as part of the image or text layer. So it's not a text layer. They're burnt onto the screen. You will not be able to edit those live fields, just like you can't edit the breadcrumb trail using Inspection Manager. So it's kind of burnt on. Any other questions? I'll leave it for another 10 seconds or so before it gets a bit too awkward, and then we'll sign off. But if there's nothing else, by all means, connect up with me using LinkedIn. My email address is tom.danvers@bakerhughes.com if you want to reach out that way. Otherwise, thank you for connecting.